Hello, welcome to another macro video, the second of two on the phrase word not responding, but we're bringing macros into it and saying that don't poke the bear. In other words, if macros are running, then please don't click on the screen. Just to revise back, in the first part we discovered that word not responding doesn't necessarily mean that word has crashed. It does mean that word is busy and it's asking you to wait. So what do? You definitely don't click on the screen. You wait patiently because every single click makes the whole thing worse. And as a general principle, the more track changes there are on a document, the slower the document is going to operate. And so general idea, keep file size down if you can. And certainly if you're doing a book, it's worth doing this with chapter files, because apart from anything else, it will make the whole process of editing faster if you're using Threadit. So in the second part, we're going to look at the way macros make things worse, in what way, why, and then I'm going to do a quick demo along the theme of don't click on the screen. And then finally, I'm going to pass out some practical advice on how to avoid problems of potential crashes and how to recover from things when they appear to go wrong. Okay, so why do macros make it worse? Well, they're using up processor power, and sometimes they use a lot of power, and that's when we're using analysis macros, for example. They're doing a lot of work, and so you have to be patient. And also, if the macros are actually altering the text, that can use a lot of processor power, because once the power has been altered, Word then needs time to do the redisplay, and please don't underestimate the amount of time that it takes. And also, admittedly, that I do make mistakes in the programming, and so that can cause problems. So general advice, start with popular macros, because you know those are going to be ones that will almost certainly work okay. From our macro survey, there were the 10 top macros are these, and if you're working on any of those, then you should be fine. It's a good place to start. Some are somewhat more obscure, and some it may be that no one has even used them before, because there are 1200 macros, so and there are lots of different reasons why they might not be working. It may just be something about the document you're trying to use it on, which is I've not taken account of in the programming. So the important thing is to know what to do when things go wrong, and I've tried to explain a load about that in my book, in the section what happens when things go wrong. And it talks about error reporting. So you get an error, what do? Well, just basically, if you click end, then it takes you back to Word, and you can sort of go back to where you were using Word. If you click on debug, it takes you into the program at the line at which the error occurred, and that's useful information for me if you want to report what's happened. And I would certainly like you to do that. The documentation tells you how to recover control by clicking on these, and it tells you how to report errors. And if you do report errors, then you are helping your colleagues, which is great, because if I correct the errors, the macros are improved, and there are fewer people going to have problems. Also, we want to improve the documentation, and so if you tell me about that, that also improves things for other people, for your colleagues. So, a scary demo. Please don't try this at home. So this is something I discovered relatively recently. When there's a macro running, if you start clicking on other documents on the screen, then it can cause the macro to go wrong. So let's start a macro running and see what happens. So if I now decide to click on this document instead, then it changes there. And if I go back to that one, or maybe there, or up here, or there. So in other words, depending on where you click on the screen, the whole thing goes very wrong. So let me stop. If I press Control Break, that's holding the Control key down and pressing the pause break key, then it comes up to this, and I can end that macro and stop it going. So let's get rid of those. Let's go back to here and see if I can continue. I can't. Okay, continue, and I still can't continue, and so I have to do that and then continue there. Right, okay. Practical advice. So if you're using a macro that is new to you, then, well, obviously, hopefully, you will read the instructions first. If they're not clear, then please tell me. And if there are macros that don't, I'll say there are macros, about 350, that don't have any documentation, because creating documentation is boring, and it may be that nobody's interested in that macro anyway. If you're interested in it, it's undocumented, then please let me know. So, general advice, try the macro on a small file. Don't go straight into the main book or document and try and run it on that. Try on a small file, but not too small. You need to be sure that there are actually some errors in the file you're trying it on. Maybe you can put some errors in for the macro to try and find for you. Then perhaps try it on part of the real file, maybe a small part of it, and see if it works on there. And then it also helps you to get some idea of how long it's going to take. So that can give you some confidence when you're running the real thing on a real document in real time. How long are you going to have to wait? Is there something likely to have gone wrong, or is it just a case of waiting? And in many of the macros, are long-running macros anyway, I put progress indicators on the status bar, which is the bar down the bottom here. I put some text up sometimes. And when you run it from VBA, so if we click Alt F11 and get VBA up, there is a window that we can get there. So let's have a look. So that's what's called the immediate window. So that you view the immediate window, and there's a keystroke, Control G. So here's view on the VBA window. Click on there, down to immediate window, click, and I've got a window down here that can show me what's going on. And when you're working on an actual document, you want to see what's going on. You want to see the status bar, so put your document such that you can see the status bar on the bottom here, and you've got the VBA window there, and you can see the anything that's if the macro prints anything into the immediate window there. So let's try running hyphenalize. So we want to analyze, yes. So you'll see action on the screen, which is one of the indicators, and then there's something happening in the status bar and something happening down in the immediate window. And if there's nothing happening, I want to know what's going on. Is it running? I can click the break key there, and then wait, and then wait. It says up here that it's running, and it's not actually stopped yet. It's still running even though I pressed break, and with a bit of luck, yes, it gets there. Eventually it comes up with a yellow on probably on a do events command. In other words, that's the macro has stopped, and I can carry on running by clicking the run icon. It says continue on there, so if I click that, it'll carry on, and it's formatted the results, and we say OK. Alright, so here's the results it has formatted for us. Alright, so yeah, I was saying choose the window size and shape, and if there are no signs of life, as I was saying, and there's nothing in the immediate window, obviously, please don't click. The only thing you can do, single click on that break icon up here, there, and then let's just see what it looks like. Here we go. Yeah, so it's like the DVD control. So the middle one is the break icon or pause, and you can do the same sort of thing on a PC by holding the control key down and pressing the pause break key. If you haven't got one, and some laptops don't, then it's a bit of a pain. But only press that once. So if nothing seems to happen, just press it the once and wait, as I did when you saw it earlier. On a Mac, the equivalent is command period or full stop, and say wait and wait and wait, and then hopefully eventually one line will go yellow, so you know that it's now it's not actually died, thank goodness, and then we can press the run button to restart it, and then be patient. So perhaps go and walk the dog instead. Okay. So suppose you get a macro that really doesn't work, then obviously go back to that section in the book, and that will give you some reasons why the macro might have failed, and maybe some hopefully some ways to help you try again. And again, please contact me if that doesn't help. A few more hints that might help you to get a macro going that at some stage is giving an error. You can try accepting track changes, obviously not on your main document, but a copy of it, and see if accepting the track changes helps, because the macros sometimes, as it were, trip over the track changes. Certainly find, if I'm using find in a macro, then you can find things inside a track, which is not what you want, and that can cause a macro to go wrong. If possible, then run the track change, the macros before you actually do any track changing. So analysis, definitely do that before any track changing. Another hint is to run the Copytext Simple, which creates a sort of text-only version of the document, and then run the macro on that, which is especially helpful for analyses. And there's another thing which can catch you out. You get to the end of the macro and you think, great, it's finished. However, the macro might have finished, but on large files it looks as if it's finished, but clicking on the screen can still crash the macro. Well, crash Word really, not the macro, because the macro is actually finished. What's going on? Well, a possible culprit, one macro where it can happen is multi-file text, which is the macro that combines together the text from a whole series of different files into one big file. And we would do that because we want to say all the chapters in a book, so we can analyze the whole book. It seems to have finished, but it's combined all those files together into one big one. And in that new file, Word has to work out how to display each paragraph, and it's the whole book, so that's going to take some time. So if you think the macro is finished running but there's no flashing cursor, that's an indicator that Word is still thinking about it. It's still trying to work out how to display. So definitely don't click with the mouse. If anything, just try the down arrow key and just click it once and then wait. It's the same story. Don't click unless you really have to, and certainly wait. Okay, so the sum total of today's video is please be patient with macros and don't click. Whew. got there. Okay. Thanks for watching. Bye now.